Hello everybody, it's Mr. Starton here again, ready for lesson 4 on plants. I hope you've enjoyed the last 3 lessons and you're ready with your bean, because we are going to do an investigation today. You're going to start seeing if you can germinate a bean in just a jar. So let me get our lesson going. Let me just share this screen here. And there we go. Okay. Let's get going. So we're going to start off with a quick reminder of what you need today. So we need a pencil and paper. I asked you last time if you could get a seed or a bean ready as well for this lesson, because we are going to try and germinate a seed or bean inside a jar. Another thing I've also added as well, and it doesn't matter if you don't have it ready because you can always go and get it at the end of the lesson, is if you've got a paper towel or kitchen roll, that would also be really, really useful. But don't worry if you haven't got it yet, you can always get it at the end. Okay, so quick recap to start. See what you can remember from our last few lessons. Make sure you've got a pencil and paper ready. Okay. What does the M in Mrs. Gren stand for? Next question. Can you name 3 parts of a flower? Next, is grass a producer or a consumer in the food chain? Can plants move? Do plants need oxygen? What does the N in Mrs. Gren stand for? Okay, let's go back. Some of you may have already seen the answer to 2 questions on there then. So, what does the M in Mrs. Gren stand for? Well done if you wrote down movement. Can you name 3 parts of a flower? Well, if you got anything off from our last lesson 2, when we dissected a flower, you could say anther, filament, petal, stem, style, stigma, ovule, ovary. Well done if you said any of them. Is grass a producer or consumer? It's a producer. Can plants move? Yes, and some more spectacular than others. Well done if you said yes. Obviously, they move when they grow, but some, like the Venus flytrap, like we learned in our lesson 2, are really, they move very well. Lesson 3, wasn't it? Lesson 3. Do plants need oxygen? Yes, they do. And what does the N in Mrs. Gren stand for? And well done, the eagle-eyed among you, nutrition, as it always does for any animal or plant. So just a quick reminder, Mrs. Gren, movement, respiration, sensitivity, growth, reproduction, excretion, and nutrition. Can you remember how a plant works with all of those? Pause the video, remind yourself how they all work. Okay, so movement, we talked about it, grows, but some like the Venus flytrap and ivy also are able to be sensitive around things and snap around them or grow along them. Respiration, plants need to breathe. They breathe in oxygen. It's important for the way that they use they get their energy. Sensitivity, plants are sensitive, particularly to temperature, light, and gravity. Some like daisy close at night. Growth, of course, plants grow, and we're going to learn about that. You're going to see that happening, hopefully, in the next few days with your bean. Reproduce, yes, they reproduce. We'll learn about that more when we get onto pollination. Excrete, that was the one that was all very funny, wasn't it? Because it's all to do with what we would do in terms of going to the toilet. But they excrete out gas out of their leaves. And we talked about how leaves are really much more important than some people think. And then nutrition, yes, of course, flowers, plants even. Plants need to get their nutrition from the soil, and also to create their own nutrition through photosynthesis. So what does a plant need to grow? What do you think? Pause the video, write down a few ideas. Okay. Now here's a few keywords. I've got the slides out the wrong way here. The ones that I would particularly look at today is habitat and germination. Those 2 are very important. Okay, what do we need to grow? So, water, sunlight, nutrients, carbon dioxide, blah, 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 get my words out, carbon dioxide, oxygen, and they need space, they need room as well. Now, what would happen if we removed any of those? What do you think? Pause the video, say what you think. Okay, I know a lot of you would have said they won't grow, which you'd be partly right, yes, but are all plants the same? No, not all plants are the same. Let's have a look at a few plants. These are ones that you may see in your everyday life. Sunflowers, for example, I've got some lovely sunflowers in the garden at the moment, and roses and such there. Now, these all obviously need all of those, and they need quite a lot of water. They need quite a lot of sun, particularly the sunflower, which actually moves around. So they need all of these things that we talk about here, and they need them quite a lot. But what about this one? Does anybody know what that's called? I can tell some of you are going to be so furious that I'm even asking the question. It's called a cactus. A cactus, do you know where they grow? That's right, they grow in the desert. And in the desert, do you think they get a lot of water? No, they don't. No, they do not. But these are from a special plant family called the succulents. Now, what cactuses can do is they can go almost a year without any water because they are able to store up water and use it very slowly over a long period of time. I've actually got here a cactus, and I'm not the best person with plants, but this cactus hasn't received a lot of water. It's actually, at the moment when I'm recording this, it's the summer holidays, so it hasn't been watered as much as it should be, but it's looking well, it's healthy, because of the fact I watered it a few months ago. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. It's got what it needs. It's got sunlight in the room. It's got the oxygen and the carbon dioxide in the air in order to help it breathe. So it's absolutely fine at the moment. But when I look at some of my other ones, and I'm actually going to stop sharing at the moment so you can see this a bit closer. Look at this flower. Now, the person who gave me the flowers will be absolutely furious because, again, I got these at the end of last year. I haven't been into school for a few weeks, and you can see it's died. Now, why do you think it's died? It hasn't had enough water. So whereas the cactus is alive and well, this poor plant no longer ceased to be. You can see its petals have withered and died. And the same with this one here, which is actually falling apart as I hold it. Exactly the same again. It's so brittle and hard because it's not got any water, hasn't had any water. So it's actually died, unfortunately. I definitely shouldn't be trusted with those sort of flowers. I think I should just keep to cactuses. Okay, let's get back to our PowerPoint. And we talked about how cactuses are succulent and they don't need as much water as other plants, and they can survive in other habitats, much drier habitats. Do you know what this plant's called? It's a fern. Now, a fern is actually almost the opposite. Ferns live in very dark, damp places. Now, they don't need as much sunlight. They tend to actually grow in the undergrowth of forests, so they actually grow underneath other plants in order to stay away from too much sunlight, but they do need a lot of water, so they like damp conditions. So they are an example of how a habitat can be very different for plants, and plants don't need all exactly the same nutrients in the same amount. They all need the same nutrients, they all need what we talked about in this slide at the start, but they don't all need them in the same amount. Okay, time for our bean investigation. So I'm going to stop sharing again. We're a bit stop-start today. Right, I'm going to show you what you're going to do. And like I said, don't worry if you haven't got everything ready yet. You can go after the lesson. You can even stop the video and go and get this. Hopefully you'll have a paper towel or even toilet roll. Might work. We haven't tried it. But we're going to have a go. I'm going to show you what to do. So I have got just a normal, I've got a plastic jar. You can use a glass jar or even a glass. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the paper towel and I'm just going to wet the paper towel so it's damp. Oh, get that all over my lap. So I've got the wet paper towel and that going inside there. And then I'm going to take my seed or bean. Now I've actually got a runner bean there. It's not going to run away. It's fine. I'm going to just pop it inside the paper towel, but just I don't know if you can quite see that, just so I can see it. Do you see that there? The reason for that is, what we're going to do now is I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to water the paper towel, the bean, every day. Not too much water, just a little bit. Oh, I've made a mess here. And we're going to watch what happens with that over the next few days. And this is our working scientifically. We're going to keep a diary, actually, of what we see. So you using a piece of paper, I would say every day, just write down what you observe, which is a key word in science, what we observe over time. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, etc. So it's important you do keep a diary because we want to remember what we've learned and what we've observed. Hopefully in a few days, you'll start seeing some roots branch out, and that is the germination process starting. That is the seed order being growing. Okay, one little task for you then. So pause the video here. I would like you to line up the cactus and the fern based on what we talked about before. What notes match which plant? Pause the video. Okay, let's see if we get these to go. I'm going to do these now and move them around a little bit. So a cactus, does it need to live in the shade? Well, no. So that it goes with the fern. Does cactus need lots of sunlight? Yes. Does it grow in a desert? Yes. So I'm going to move that underneath the cactus again. Does it grow in a forest? Well, no, I can't see any forests around that picture of the cactus, and my cactus hasn't got a forest around it, so we're going to move that over here underneath fern. Now, does a fern need water often? Yes. So when I say don't need water often, that's going to go under the cactus. Does a fern need lots of water? Yes. Does a cactus? No. So this goes under the fern. And we've said that the fern has shade and the fern needs to grow in a forest. But what about carbon dioxide? Well done, those of you who didn't fall for my little trick there. This is both. They both need carbon dioxide. They both need oxygen. They both need water. They both need sunlight. They both need nutrients. They both need space. So all plants need the same thing, just in different amounts. And that's what our lesson really was about today. Okay. So for the next lesson, well, and what you're going to need is, we're going to have a look at some plants I've grown. I haven't, like I said, as you can tell from this, I'm not great at growing some plants. So we're going to see what's wrong with those plants, and you're going to help me figure out what we need that plant to have more of or less of. So what you're going to need is just a pencil and some paper. And don't forget, I would like you to keep very close attention over the next few days of what is happening with your bean and your seed. So I hope you enjoyed that. I will see you in the next lesson.